Captain Aaron had been on many alien ships before, but this one felt different. The walls seemed to breathe with a faint blue glow. The air was warmer than it should have been, carrying a sweet scent he could not place. His footsteps were quiet, against the smooth silver floor, as he moved deeper into the silent corridor. He was not supposed to be here. His mission was only to explore the lower decks of the royal flagship and collect data. Yet something had pulled him toward this part of the ship. A strange vibration in the air, almost like a song only he could hear. The corridor ended at a tall, arched door with no guards. That was unusual. Every royal chamber he had ever seen was protected. He touched the surface. It opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the light was different. A pale blue mist floated in the air. The floor seemed to vanish under him as he stepped forward, making it feel like he was walking on water. Then he heard it, a gentle humming, almost playful. Aaron stopped. His training told him to leave, but his curiosity told him to stay. He moved toward the sound, careful with each step. The mist thinned, and the room opened into a wide chamber with no walls. At the center, floating in zero gravity, was a figure unlike any he had ever seen. She was not wearing any clothing. Her skin was pale gold, shimmering under the drifting light. Her hair floated around her head in a halo of soft silver strands. She moved her hands through the air, shaping streams of glowing particles that danced like living fireflies. Aaron froze. His breath caught in his chest. He had seen alien beauty before, but this was different. She seemed unreal, as if she was made from the same light she played with. The figure turned, and her eyes locked onto his. They were deep, violet, filled with a mix of surprise and something else he could not name. Her lips parted slightly, as if she had forgotten how to breathe. Neither of them spoke. The silence felt alive, stretching between them. Then the glowing particles around her flickered and burst into sparks, vanishing into the air. She gasped softly and pulled herself toward the edge of the floating platform. Her voice was clear, musical, and filled with alarm. "You are not supposed to be here." Aaron opened his mouth to speak, but before he could answer, a deep rumble shook the chamber. The blue mist rippled. Somewhere far below, a low alarm began to sound. It was not loud at first, but it grew stronger, echoing through the walls like the heartbeat of the ship. The woman's eyes widened. She looked toward the door, then back at him. "You must leave now," she said. "If they find you here, they will kill you." Aaron took a step closer. "Who are you?" She hesitated. Her gaze swept over him quickly, studying him like he was some rare and dangerous thing. Then she whispered, "I am Lyra, Princess of the Varan Empire." The name hit him like a strike. The Varan Empire was one of the most powerful alien civilizations in the galaxy. Their rulers were never seen in public without layers of armor and dozens of guards. To see a princess like this, unguarded, vulnerable, was unthinkable. Another tremor passed through the chamber. The alarm grew louder. A metallic voice began to echo through the halls outside in a language Aaron did not understand. Lyra's face tightened. She reached for a silver cloak that had been folded near the platform and wrapped it quickly around herself. The soft fabric shimmered like liquid metal. "We have no time," she said sharply. "Follow me." Aaron hesitated for only a moment, then moved after her. She glided across the chamber with grace, her bare feet making no sound. They slipped through a narrow opening at the side of the room. The walls closed behind them. The passage beyond was darker and narrower than the main corridor. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls, casting shifting shadows across their faces. Aaron could hear distant voices now. Heavy footsteps echoed somewhere above. Lyra led him down a twisting path that seemed to move under its own will. It was as if the ship itself was guiding them. Finally, they reached a small circular chamber with a single black door. She placed her palm against it. The door opened, revealing another corridor that seemed untouched by the alarm. The sounds of chaos were now far behind them. Lyra turned to him, her violet eyes catching the dim light. "You are human," she said softly, almost in disbelief. "I thought your kind was gone." Aaron's mind was still racing. "I could say the same about meeting a Varen princess." Her lips curved slightly, but it was not a smile, more like a shadow of one. "Then perhaps we were both wrong." The alarm's echo faded in the distance, but the sense of danger remained. Lyra glanced back toward the chamber they had left. For a moment, her face softened, as if she regretted being found in that vulnerable moment. Then she looked at him again, her voice calm but firm. "You are not safe here, and if you stay, neither am I." Aaron nodded slowly. He did not know why, but something told him his life had just changed. He had walked into that chamber by chance. Now, he was walking out with the attention of an alien princess, and a mystery that felt far larger than himself. As they moved down the corridor, the ship's lights flickered once, then steadied. Somewhere far away, the alarm fell silent, but Aaron knew it was only the beginning. The corridor seemed endless. Aaron followed Lyra closely, his eyes scanning the shadows for any movement. The air here was cooler, the walls marked with faint lines that pulsed like veins under skin. They had not gone far when a loud metallic crash echoed from behind. The sound rolled through the ship like a wave, followed by the steady rhythm of approaching steps. Heavy, inhuman. Lyra stopped. Her head tilted slightly as if she could hear more than he could. Her fingers tightened around the edge of her cloak. "They are coming," she said quietly. Aaron glanced back, but the corridor behind them was empty. Still, the sound was growing louder. It was not just one set of footsteps. It was many. "We have to move faster," he said. Lyra's gaze snapped forward. "Again. No, if we run now, they will hear us. We must be silent." She led him into a side passage, so narrow his shoulders brushed the walls. The dim light made the path ahead look endless, but Aaron knew they were not far from the danger. Suddenly, a deep mechanical voice boomed from the main corridor. It was speaking in Varen. Aaron could not understand the words, but the tone was cold and commanding. Lyra's hand found his wrist, stopping him. Her eyes searched his face, as if weighing a choice. "If they see you, they will kill you without asking who you are," she whispered. "And if they see me with you, they will know. I am not loyal to my father." Aaron frowned. "Why would your own guards harm you?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Because I am not where I am supposed to be." The footsteps were closer now, their weight making the floor vibrate. Lyra pulled him into a small alcove in the wall. It was barely large enough to hide them both. The warmth of her body was close against his arm. The sound of the guards filled the corridor outside. Aaron caught glimpses of them through the narrow gap. Tall, armored figures with silver masks and glowing weapons. Their movements were precise, almost machine-like. One of them paused. The silver mask turned slightly toward their hiding place. Aaron held his breath. His heart pounded so hard he was sure they could hear it. Lyra's hand slid over his, her grip firm. Her eyes locked on his, silently telling him not to move. The guard stood there for a long moment. Then another voice called out from farther down the hall, and the masked figure turned away. The group moved on, their footsteps fading into the distance. Only then did Lyra release him. "We have little time," she said, her voice low. "They will search every level until they find us." They slipped out of the alcove and hurried deeper into the passage. This time, Lyra did not move slowly. Her steps were quick, almost urgent. Aaron followed without question. After several turns, they entered a wider corridor lined with tall silver columns. The air here was warmer again, and a faint hum filled the space. Lyra stopped at the base of one column and placed her hand on it. Symbols lit up in a vertical line, glowing softly. "This leads to the lower chambers," she explained. "Few know of it. It will give us time." The column split open, revealing a small circular platform inside. She stepped in and gestured for him to follow. The moment Aaron joined her, the platform dropped without a sound. The walls around them shimmered with moving patterns of light. It felt like falling through liquid air. When the platform stopped, the doors slid open to reveal a hidden hallway carved from dark stone instead of metal. It looked ancient, untouched by the sleek technology of the rest of the ship. Lyra stepped out first. Her voice was softer now, almost reluctant. "Captain Aaron, you should know that meeting me was not an accident. This ship, it wanted you here." Aaron stared at her. "The ship?" She met his gaze without fear. "It is alive, and it is watching us." Before Aaron could speak, a distant roar shook the walls. The lights in the hallway flickered. A blast of hot air rushed through, carrying the scent of burning metal. Lyra's eyes widened. "They have found the passage." The roar faded, but the heat in the air remained. Aaron followed Lyra deeper into the stone hallway. The walls were rough under his fingertips, carved with strange patterns that looked older than the ship itself. The further they went, the quieter it became. The alarms were gone. Even the distant footsteps had vanished. Finally, the hallway opened into a vast chamber. It was dim, lit only by streams of light falling from cracks in the high ceiling. The air smelled of dust and something older, like forgotten places. Lyra walked to the center of the room and knelt beside a raised platform. Her hand hovered over its surface, and the stone began to glow faintly. "These halls are older than my people," she said, "older than the Varen Empire. My father does not know they exist." Aaron stepped closer, his eyes scanning the strange carvings. They looked almost human. Lyra's voice softened, but there was weight in her words. "There is something you must know. My people believe humans are gone, extinct, but our oldest records speak of them with fear and respect." Aaron raised a brow. "Fear and respect?" She nodded. "They say humans were different from any other race. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but you would not stop. Even when defeat was certain, you would fight. Even when you had nothing, you would create something. My people could never understand it." Aaron looked at the carvings again. "And what does that have to do with me?" Lyra's violet eyes met his, steady and unblinking. "There is a prophecy. It says that in the Empire's last age, the last child of Earth will come, and with them will come the fall of the old order." Her words hung in the air. Aaron almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think I'm this last child?" "I do not think," she said. "I know." Before Aaron could answer, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sound of metal grinding against stone filled the chamber. Lyra's head snapped toward the hallway they had come from. "They are breaking through the sealed doors. We must move now." She pressed her palm against the glowing platform. The stone shifted and slid aside, revealing a narrow passage beneath. Warm air rushed out, smelling faintly of water and minerals. They climbed down into the darkness. The walls were smooth here, and the air was damp. A faint blue light guided them forward. As they walked, Aaron's voice was low. "If your people fear humans, why are you helping me?" Lyra's steps slowed. She looked ahead, her cloak brushing the floor. "Because I am tired of being a piece in my father's game. Because you do not bow when you look at me, and because—" She stopped. Her eyes met his again, closer this time. "Because I believe you can do what I cannot." Aaron felt the weight of her gaze. In that moment, he understood that whatever this prophecy was, it was more than old words. It was tied to her fate, and now to his. The light ahead grew brighter. The passage opened into a hidden chamber filled with clear water. It rippled gently, reflecting the glow of crystals above. Lyra stepped to the edge and turned to him. "This is the only path that will take us beyond the guards. But once we cross it, there is no return to the life you knew before." Aaron looked at the water, then back at her. I think that life is already gone. She gave a small nod. Then follow me. Lyra stepped into the water without hesitation. It rose to her waist, her cloak floating around her like silver waves. She moved toward the far side of the chamber, where another passage waited in shadow. Aaron followed the cold water, biting at his skin. Every sound was magnified here, the splash of their steps, the faint hum of the crystals, the slow beat of his own heart. Halfway across, the water shuddered. Ripples moved against them, as if something large was swimming below. Lyra stopped. Her eyes scanned the dark water. We are not alone. The water around Aaron and Lyra was calm for only a breath. Then, a slow ripple moved against their legs, stronger than any current. Aaron's eyes darted to the surface, but there was nothing to see. The glow from the crystals above cast soft light, but the water beneath them was dark and deep. Another ripple came, this time from behind. Lyra's posture changed, her shoulders tightened. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. Keep moving, do not stop. Aaron obeyed, but the water pushed harder against his body, as if something massive was circling them. From the far side of the chamber came a sound, not from the water, but from stone, a metallic grinding, sharp and urgent. The sealed door behind them was opening. Lyra's head turned quickly. The guards. Aaron's heart kicked into a faster rhythm. If the guards reached them in the water, there would be no escape. A sudden splash erupted to their left. The surface broke, and for an instant, Aaron saw it, a pale, eel-like creature with a head full of needle teeth. Its eyes glowed faintly in the crystal light before it vanished below again. Lyra's voice was calm, but her speed increased. Do not look back. Just reach the other side. The water grew colder. Aaron pushed forward, keeping pace with her. Each step sent small waves toward the far edge of the pool. The creature surfaced again, closer now, its mouth opening wide, before sinking into the depths. From behind, the sound of armored footsteps echoed into the chamber. The guards were at the water's edge. One of them shouted in the Varan tongue. Another aimed a weapon. A sharp beam of red light struck the water near Aaron, boiling the surface for a brief second. Lyra turned sharply and raised her hand. The crystals above flared with sudden brightness. The light reflected in the water, blinding the guards and sending the creature below into a frenzy. The water thrashed violently as it twisted and struck at anything that moved. Now, she shouted. Arin surged forward, his boots dragging through the current. He reached the far side with Lyra. Just as the creature leaped from the water, its teeth snapping inches from his arm, Lyra pressed her palm against the smooth section of the wall. It shifted open, revealing a narrow shaft of golden light. They slipped inside, and the wall closed silently behind them. The air in this passage was dry and warm. It felt almost safe, but Aaron could still hear the muffled sounds of the guards on the other side, shouting in confusion. Lyra's breathing was steady, though her cloak was soaked and clung to her form. She looked at him, her eyes bright in the golden glow. They will not give up now, she said. You have seen me in a place you were never meant to be, and you have escaped their hunt. That makes you dangerous to them. Aaron leaned against the wall for a moment, catching his breath. And to you? Her lips curved slightly, a faint shadow of a smile. To me, it makes you interesting. They moved through the glowing shaft until it ended in a vertical drop. Lyra stepped onto a circular platform waiting at the edge. Aaron joined her, and the platform began to descend. The golden light faded into darkness, replaced by the soft shimmer of blue as they entered another hidden level of the ship. When the platform stopped, they found themselves in a vast hall lined with statues of alien warriors. The silence here was heavy, broken only by the distant hum of the ship's engines. Lyra looked ahead. This place is forgotten by my father's court, but it is where we will find our way out. Aaron's eyes scanned the rows of statues. Each one held a weapon unlike anything he had seen before. Their faces were fierce, carved with an intensity that felt almost alive. As they began to cross the hall, a soft sound came from the far end. It was faint, but growing. Footsteps again, but these were lighter, faster, and coming straight toward them. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Not guards. Something else. The shadows at the far edge of the hall began to move. Figures emerged, their shapes lean and fluid, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They carried no weapons, yet their presence sent a chill up Aaron's spine. Voice was low. Hunters. My father uses them for only one purpose, Aaron swallowed, which is, to make sure no one escapes alive. The hunters moved with unnatural grace, their steps soundless against the floor. Their eyes glowed like cold stars, fixed on Aaron and Lyra. They did not rush. They did not need to. Aaron felt his pulse quicken. How do we stop them? Lyra's reply was calm, but her voice carried a sharp edge. We do not stop them. We run. She grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the far side of the hall. The statues loomed around them, their shadowed faces watching in silence. The hunters began to follow, their bodies flowing between the pillars like shadows made solid. One leaped forward, crossing the distance faster than Aaron expected. Lyra spun, raising her hand toward a statue. A beam of blue light burst from her palm. The statue's weapon came to life, swinging in a sudden arc. The hunter dodged, but the strike slowed it just enough for them to slip past. That will not work twice, she said, without looking back. They reached the end of the hall, where a tall arch opened into a spiraling passage. The floor was made of smooth glass-like material, and as soon as they stepped onto it, the surface began to move. Carrying them upward, the hunters reached the arch seconds later. Instead of stepping onto the moving floor, they climbed the walls. Like insects, closing the gap fast. Aaron's eyes darted to the top of the spiral. Where does this lead? To the outer deck, Lyra answered. And from there, we fly. Before he could ask how, a loud chime rang through the spiral. The floor's speed increased, pulling them higher at a dizzying pace. But so did the hunters. Their clawed hands scraped along the walls, their bodies pulling upward with terrifying speed. At the top of the spiral, the passage opened into a wide platform. Wind rushed through from a massive window that revealed the darkness of space beyond. Lyra crossed to a sleek pod docked at the edge. Its surface shimmered with faint silver light. She pressed her palm against its side, and the hatch opened with a soft hiss. Aaron glanced back. The first hunter was almost at the top of the spiral. Its mouth opened slightly, revealing sharp rows of teeth. Get in, Lyra shouted. He leaped into the pod, and she followed, sealing the hatch. The interior was small, made for speed, not comfort. Lyra slid into the pilot's seat, her hands moving over glowing controls. The hunters reached the platform outside. They slammed their hands against the pod's surface, their claws screeching over the metal. The engines roared to life, a deep hum that made the air vibrate. The pod lifted, spinning toward the massive window. Aaron braced himself. Please tell me this thing can break through that glass. Lyra's lips curved into a faint, dangerous smile. It can do more than that. The pod shot forward. The window's surface split open into triangular panels, folding away just in time. The cold void of space stretched out before them, stars burning in the distance. The pod cleared the ship and sped into open space. Behind them, smaller vessels launched from the royal flagship in pursuit. Aaron glanced at the screens in front of him. They're fast. They will be faster soon, Lyra said. Hold on. She twisted the controls sharply. The pod spun and dove toward a massive asteroid field. Chunks of rock and ice drifted in slow, dangerous patterns, lit by the glow of a nearby star. The pursuing ships followed, their weapons firing streams of energy that lit up the darkness. Aaron's grip tightened on the seat. Any chance they'll give up? he asked. None, Lyra replied. But in this field, we have a chance to lose them. The pod weaved between tumbling rocks, the hunters' ships closing in. One clipped the edge of a spinning asteroid, exploding into a burst of light. But the rest kept coming. Aaron turned to her. Even if we escape, where do we go? Lyra's gaze stayed locked ahead. To someone who hates my father more than anyone else in the galaxy. The pod darted deeper into the asteroid field. Behind them, the remaining pursuers split into two groups, circling to cut them off. Lyra's eyes narrowed. They think they have trapped us. Aaron glanced at her. And do they? Her faint smile returned. Only if they are faster than me. She pushed the pod into a sharp dive, disappearing into the shadow of a giant asteroid. The hunters followed, straight into a path they could not see. A second later, a violent burst of light filled the void. The pod emerged from the other side of the asteroid, alone. The hunters were gone. Lyra leaned back in her seat, her voice calm again. We have our freedom, for now. Aaron looked at her, the stars reflecting in her violet eyes. You're full of surprises, princess. Her gaze met his. You have no idea. The stars slid past in streaks of silver and gold as the pod raced through the emptiness. Aaron sat in silence, watching Lyra work the controls with practiced precision. She did not look at him when she spoke. There is a station ahead, hidden from most star maps. If we reach it, we will be beyond my father's direct reach. Aaron leaned forward. And who exactly are we going to meet there? Her lips pressed together for a moment before she answered. General Kale. The name meant nothing to Aaron, but the weight in her voice told him enough. Friend or enemy? Lyra's gaze stayed fixed on the swirling stars. Both. The station appeared as a shadow against the light of a distant sun. It was massive, built into the side of a jagged asteroid. Spires of metal rose from its surface, like the ribs of a giant beast. The closer they came, the more Aaron saw gun turrets, shield generators, and docking arms ready to trap anything that approached without permission. A voice crackled through the comms. Deep, rough, and male. Identify yourself, or be destroyed. Lyra's tone was steady. Tell Kale that the daughter of his enemy seeks audience. There was a pause, then the voice returned. Dock at Bay 4. The pod slipped into the station's shadow and landed with a soft thud. The hatch opened to a bay filled with armed soldiers, their armor darker and heavier than the royal guards. Their faces were hidden behind steel masks. One figure stepped forward, taller than the rest. His armor was scarred and dented, but his posture was unshaken. When he removed his helmet, Aaron saw a face marked by old battles, a jagged scar across one eye, silver hair cropped short, and eyes as sharp as blades. Princess Lyra, Kale said. His voice was low and dangerous. I never thought I would see you here, unless it was in chains. Lyra stepped out of the pod with her head high. Chains may still come, General, but not from you. Kale's gaze shifted to Aaron, scanning him from head to toe. A human. I thought your kind were gone. Aaron met his stare without flinching. Surprise. A flicker of something passed in Kale's eyes. Curiosity, maybe even respect. Then he looked back at Lyra. Why bring him here? Because he is part of the prophecy, she said simply. And because I cannot do what must be done alone. Kale's laugh was short and cold. You speak as if I care for your fate. Lyra stepped closer, her voice like steel wrapped in silk. You care for my father's fall. I can give you that. The hall fell silent. Even the soldiers seemed to pause there, attention fixed on the two of them. Kale studied her for a long moment. Then he gestured for them to follow. Come. If you are lying, you will not leave here alive. They walked through the station's corridors. Unlike the gleaming royal ship, this place felt alive with movement and purpose. Soldiers trained in open space as engineers worked over massive engines, and the hum of power ran through the floors. Kale, led them into a war room. A large table displayed a holographic projection of the Varen Empire's territory, its planets marked in crimson light. A rotating image of the royal flagship hovered at the center. "This is your father's fleet," Kale said. "It will not fall easily." Lyra's eyes locked on the projection. "It will fall if we strike where he is weakest." Kale's gaze sharpened. "And where is that?" She hesitated for the first time since they arrived. "In his trust, he believes no one would dare enter the palace." Aaron's voice was quiet, but firm. "So you want to walk straight into it?" Lyra looked at him, and he saw something in her eyes, not recklessness, but certainty. "Yes." Kale leaned back, a faint smile touching his scarred face. "I like her plan. It is bold, dangerous. It has a high chance of failure." "Then you will help us?" Lyra asked. His smile widened slightly. "Yes, but know this. Once you begin, there is no turning back. The king will either be dead, or you will." Lyra did not look away. "I understand." Aaron looked between them. "When do we start?" Kale's eyes burned with battle hunger. "Tomorrow, at first light." The plan was set. The night before the attack, the station's lights dimmed, and the constant hum of activity slowed to a tense quiet. Soldiers prepared weapons. Engineers loaded the small strike ship that would carry them into the heart of the Varen Palace. Aaron sat alone in the docking bay, watching the stars beyond the open shield gates. Each one seemed like a choice he had not yet made. Footsteps approached. Lyra stepped into the soft light, wearing light armor shaped to her, formed silver plates over deep violet fabric. Her hair was tied back, and her eyes held the fire of someone who had made peace with danger. "You are quiet," she said, stopping beside him. "Just thinking," Aaron replied, "about how I got here. About how, tomorrow, we might not be alive." She turned to face him fully. "If that is how it ends, then at least we chose our own path." Aaron searched her eyes. "This isn't just about your father, is it?" Her gaze softened, but her voice was steady. "No, it is about every life trapped under his rule. It is about a future where I am more than a daughter in a cage." She paused. "And it is about you." The silence between them was filled with unspoken meaning. Then the alarm for final preparations sounded. They boarded the strike ship with Kale and his elite fighters. The craft left the station, its engines silent under stealth systems. The palace rose in the distance, a vast structure of black crystal and silver towers, floating in the dark like a sleeping predator. As they neared, Kale's voice broke the silence. "Once we enter, you will have minutes before the royal guard locks the inner gates. You must reach the throne chamber. The rest is up to you." The ship pierced the palace's outer shields through a hidden maintenance corridor. They moved fast, silent shadows through the empty halls. But the deeper they went, the more the air felt heavy, as if the palace itself knew they were there. Finally, they reached the great doors of the throne chamber. The guards stationed there fell quickly under Kale's fighters, but not without sounding an alarm that echoed like a death toll. The doors opened. Inside, the king sat on a raised black throne, his presence heavy and cold. His armor shimmered like liquid steel, and his crown was shaped like a predator's jaws, his eyes fixed on Lyra with a mix of disbelief and rage. "My daughter," he said, his voice deep and sharp. "You returned to me with a human at your side, and with traitors at your back." Lyra stepped forward, her voice strong. "I returned to end your reign." The king stood. The chamber's light bent around him as energy gathered in his gauntlets. "You are a child playing at rebellion." Kale and his fighters moved to engage the guards pouring in from the side halls. The room became a storm of motion, steel clashing with steel, the air shaking with the force of energy blasts. Aaron stayed close to Lyra as they advanced toward the throne. The king moved with terrifying speed, striking at them both. Aaron blocked. One blow, the impact sending a sharp pain up his arm. Lyra countered with a beam of violet light from her hands, forcing her father back a step. The fight was relentless. Every strike from the king was heavy with power. Every move from Lyra carried the weight of years of restraint finally breaking. Then came the moment. The king lunged at Eren, his blade raised high. Lyra stepped between them, taking the strike. On her armor, sparks flew, and she dropped to one knee, the force of the blow shaking her. Eren caught her before she could fall. Her voice was soft but certain. Now end it. He looked at the king. He could see the rage, but also the fear. Eren's grip tightened on the weapon he had taken from a fallen guard, but he hesitated. Killing the king would change everything. For her, for him, for the galaxy. Lyra's hand touched his cheek, her eyes searching his. This is your choice. The prophecy ends how you decide. For a heartbeat, the battle around them seemed to fade. Eren made his choice. The scene cut with the king's throne falling empty, the sound of steel hitting the ground, and Lyra's voice whispering, "It is done." They stood together in the silent chamber. Kale entered, blood on his armor, but alive. The palace is ours. Lyra turned to Eren. In her eyes, there was relief, but also something deeper. Then the future begins now. Outside, the first light of the distant star broke over the palace spires, marking the dawn of a new age, one that would be remembered in both human and Varen history.